Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
All right, everybody, welcome. Here we are in Foxboro. There's Roberto. I'm Glenn. And the big news here, of course, is the exhibition game, the New England Patriots against the Philadelphia Eagles, kicking off in a couple of minutes' time. How are we not at that game? It's right across the street from us here. But
I have about 100 reasons.
Yeah. $100 for a ticket to an exhibition game. Someone should be guillotined for that. That's just. Is that the way it is all around the NFL, Roberto?
No, I remember going to a Giants game with my son 2 years ago. We saw tickets for $10 and we're like, let's go. And we just went. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're really here for New York City FC at New England against the much improved Revolution under a first-year head coach and some new faces, including Matt Turner, a returning new face, and going up against Matt Freese. So the number one and the number two goalkeepers for the U.S. men are going at it. Jack Harrison, the former New York City winger, playing his first game against his former club now that he's back in MLS. But, Roberto, I think we need to address, because I think we'd be certainly remiss if there are a massive number of stories and reposts of three journalists who have put out there that the Sporting KC, led by David Lee, the former New York City sporting director, have offered the New York City Football Club, who have never made a cash, this internal cash for player transaction, which was legalized at MLS a couple of seasons ago. But that Sporting KC has offered $25 million for Nico Fernandez Mercal. So there's really, look, we're on the trip with everybody. There were no indications that anything, and it's not one of these things where you walk up and go, hey, is this true? But it is something that needs to be addressed, because it's on the top of mind of people on social media and everywhere, and we're involved with the club. But from what we could tell, there's, it's just it's probably an accurate story, but what happens from here? So that's the question.
So the thing is that you look at it from the New York City perspective, okay? $25 million is enticing, and it's a good number. The one point I want to make before we even started all of this, before any speculation gets out of gets out of hand and everything, Nico Fernandez Mercado is on the trip, so he's here. All right, so let's get that straight. He's here, and as far as we know, he's playing. So when you look at this, okay, New York City, every day you see something new posted about Etihad Park. Every single day. And they're selling season tickets. And they're doing all these things to get that place sold out. And it's going to be sold out not for a year or two. It's going to be sold out for a while, the way that they're marketing the team, the way they're selling tickets and everything else. So if you sign up for a season ticket, it's not just 1 year. You have to sign up for 2 or 3 years. And depending, you can sign up to 5, and you get a discount along the way. So they're doing it that way. You can't sell your marquee player. You just can't. You can't sell your marquee player if you're doing that, unless you're bringing in behind that somebody like a Kevin De Bruyne, or name a player that would be a marquee attraction, but also is going to contribute. Going to contribute on the field. And so, unless you got something like that waiting in the wing, you're not doing this. You're just not doing this,
Roberto. This is well thought out, but it's not 100%, because of the player, and in no way, shape, or form. And we saw him today, and it was a joy to just hang with him for a little bit, never bringing anything like this up. But
Right.
if the player and the agent become disgruntled and they become disruptive, then you sometimes might not have choice. So just say they can't 100%. You really can't say that. We don't anticipate that would ever happen with this young man who is a delight. And man, he's
He's a
I would say
leader.
he's a leader, and he's by far their best player.
He
And
is.
the diminished nature of his departure and what kind of impact negatively that would have on any hope of winning a trophy or maybe even getting into the playoffs. Things are very dicey in the Eastern Conference. You can't slip too deeply, or it'll become more difficult over these last 14 games.
Yeah, but Glenn, to counter what you're saying, okay, just from a New York City FC perspective, there's nothing to stop New York City from tearing up his contract and offering him a new deal that pays him whatever he would be getting paid at Sporting Kansas City if that offer is real. So there's nothing to stop New York City from doing that. So there's a lot of things that can still happen. My gut feeling is he isn't going anywhere, and we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if it does. We'll see if it does. And we also understand that his agent, though, we understand his agent is a real piece of work when it comes to stuff like that. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. Because the agent, Ted makes money on all these deals. Every time he moves, the agent, pockets money.
Man, I've been talking to a lot of people involved in Italian football, in Serie A and Serie B, and man, the deals that go on between sporting directors and agents in that part of the world is you talk about criminal. There are some difficult things going on over there from what I hear, and I think the sources are pretty.
And it's not only there, Glenn. It's pretty. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. You see in Mexico, for instance, coaches moving all the time, and then you see like 2 or 3 players that always seem to move with them. In a lot of cases, there's every time they change, there's something going on. That's what we hear. We're in the wrong business. We're in the wrong business.
The other part about Nico Fernandez-Mercado, which, by the way, I asked him today, on commentary, I said, Fernandez-Mercado is very difficult to say all the time. So he prefers, and I know we've checked on this with him before, but I never personally have. If you have to call him anything, you can call him Mercado, but not Fernandez. So that's, that's the way we go about it. And anyway,
you can call him Nico, but you've got 2 Nicos on the team.
Yeah, that's that makes it. If they're both on the field at the same time, that's very difficult. And Nico Cavallo has been putting in the minutes. So, but the relationship between Fernandez-Mercado and Luigi. This is when these reports came out. I'm thinking, that is such a vital relationship, which is just starting to develop. And I've got some things to play that will help show that. And just a couple of other things before we get into the game, since we were on the business side of things. If we do look at Sporting KC and David Lee, the owner promised him before he accepted that job that they were going to spend money. Man, they have. So they've got the most expensive transfer, 4th most expensive transfer in MLS history, reportedly, for Andre Luiz, who Matty Lawrence has seen play a lot, and he said he's like 6'1". He is a legitimate DP player. So Matty expects when he becomes eligible, when the paperwork and everything, that good chance he'll tear it up in MLS. So they're spending the bucks. Santi Rodriguez. So he's going to the Columbus Crew, it looks like. I don't know if that's a done deal, but that's a fairly reliable report that we've seen on social media. So at Botafogo, it didn't go well. I mean, you have to look back in minutes played and production. It wasn't up to Santi's standards that he set at New York City, but now he's going to Columbus Crew. So you got Jack Harrison in New England, Santi Columbus Crew. He'll join Molde Amundsen. They can kind of, relive the 2021 MLS Cup together. And,
they can.
Wow, man. Then one other thing, Roberto, and then let's get to what's going on here, and then also what happened in the last match for New York City. Khaled Al-Ahmad is now he played a significant role in that 2021 MLS Cup as the Scandinavian and CONCACAF lead scout for New York City FC as part of the City Football Group, where he was there for 6 years. Then he went as a sporting director to Barnsley, and then most recently Minnesota United. And the big announcement this week is that he's leaving Minnesota for Austin, where he's going to be with Jim Curtin come January, the sprint season, and all that. So another New York City tie that's moving around MLS. So I thought I'd throw that in there too. All right.
All right. There's a lot of ex-New York City news too, right? Frank Lampard made his debut and lost 3-0. Tati Castellanos today in stoppage time gets a penalty kick for West Ham to tie the game, and he missed it. So they wound up losing 2-1. So a lot of news, and Andoni Iraola will be debuting with Liverpool.
That's right. And that was Charlton that West Ham lost to. That I will tell you. I mean, I'm not an expert on the championship. That is not a good loss, and it was at home. So it was at the London Stadium. I don't know wonder how many people are going to those championship games. They need to keep loading that place up.
Probably quite a bit. Yeah, I would presume quite a bit. I mean, the following on those teams, it doesn't change when they drop down. You know, the following is just solid. I mean, I would think. I don't. I didn't check to see what the stats were on that.
That's it. Well, Hull City. Now we go back to the Premier League. So I'm in a pool, and I picked them to be relegated. So I texted the person running the pool and asked them if I could change my picks. And I also have Man United finishing, in the upper echelon of the EPL. And Hull beats Man United 2-0 today. And so that's among the results. All right, Roberto.
Hold on, I'm just to see. Give me 1 second. They sold out the stadium today. 62,264. I do. It's not your show only. 62,000.
I brought it up 2 minutes ago, and now I don't care anymore. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad you got that.
It's okay.
I'm glad you got that out. Why are you so why are you so fascinated by the attendance? I am curious because I like knowing it, but you are like you're like so in tune. Why is that so important to you? Attendance.
I think it's for validation, I guess, and especially in MLS. I'm very interested to see how many tickets sold, tickets distributed, fannies that show up. I mean, we understand how that goes. I mean, there was 25,513, which is capacity in Cincinnati, but we were there. We were looking at it. And if there were 20,000 people there, it was a lot. Yes, it was a rainy night that forecasted, but those tickets are sold. And I think it's about validity of everything that's going on. I mean, if people aren't showing up, and if they're not watching on TV, then what are we doing? So that's why. And I'm always curious about that.
No, I am curious too. You're just so in tune, but it's good because it keeps us alive on the attendance side. So in Cincinnati, with their 20,000, although 25,000 were sold, the home team wins 2-1 on a late goal. So a couple of things here, Luigi. So I want to talk about Luigi first because I adore this kid and player, and you could just tell I don't speak Portuguese. I think you could probably communicate with him a little bit because he is just.
I tried.
Okay, well, he's just like Ever was, and like Magno, just a bright face, smiling. You could just tell he's relaxed, and he's relaxed on the pitch as well. So he became just the second player in New York City FC history to score a goal in each of his first 2 MLS games. So that's one thing, and I think that's a pretty neat accomplishment on his part. And as we'll discuss here, he probably could have had a few more. So I want to play. I hope this is the right one. Here it goes. So I'm going to play. So he scores the goal to make it 1-1, 10 minutes after the opening goal by Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. And post-game, Pascal Janssen was asked immediately about Luigi, and then past his comment, I'm just going to play the call from the English side with myself and Maddie. Here it goes.
It's good that you highlight the kid. Obviously, it's always about the team performance, and we've lost, so it's always hard to identify some highlights in the emotion straight away after the game. But I agree, Luigi showed class today. Even if you look at the goal that he scored today, that is pure class. It's a good rhythm of play, and his timing and movement to be available to have the finishing touch is very impressive for such a young striker. So we're very happy that he's part of our project.
Now Gustavo, well, with that left peg, that's a weapon, man. He goes cross field to find Ojeda. And now popping out wide right is Fernandez Mercado. Ojeda underlapping, gets to the byline. Here's the cutback. Here's a shot. It's a first-time goal for Luigi, and it's 1-1 in the 21st minute. Wonderful play. It started with Gustavo with a long diagonal service. Matty, that's a great goal for New York City, considering they generated so little here in the opening 20 minutes plus.
That's their first shot of the game, not first shot on target. That's their first shot of the game. And it starts with Matt Freese, who rolls it out to Gustavo. Gustavo hits that 50-yard diagonal ball into Ojeda. Ojeda just lays it off to Fernandez Macau. He just takes it for a couple of seconds. No one comes near him. He rolls it down towards the byline. Ojeda is running on. It's a very, very long and elongated 1-2. Ojeda cuts it back, and Luigi meets it effortlessly just with the inside of the right foot and guides it into the far corner. One end of the field to the other, Glenn. That's a fantastic team goal, but that shows you why Cincinnati concede goals. They did not get anywhere near the ball, and the ball's travelled 120 yards.
Yeah, Cincinnati concedes goals, and look, Raul Gustavo, for whatever we've had to say about Raul, sometimes his performances have been a bit up and down, but there's nobody in the squad that can strike a ball like that. And what's better than a 50, 60-yard ball to change the point rather than having to make 3 passes or 2 passes to get it there? And that was such a critical part about that. But then the relationship between everybody was just – that was a great goal. And Luigi's little – and we're going to from my pregame discussion with Pascal, I want to play another what he had to say a little bit more thoroughly about that goal. But Roberto, I mean, there was nothing before that, you know?
No, it almost came out of nowhere, but it was a good reaction because Cincinnati hadn't scored, a few minutes just before they had scored. And then New York City was able to react. And then from that point on, they looked like the better team for a good part of that game. It's really a shame, Glenn, that they didn't get a point out of that because I really thought that they deserved it. And with all the other performances that they had, especially against Necaxa, to say nothing about the horrific second half against Philadelphia, it looked like they'd straightened a lot of these things out. And then at the end of the game, sadly, they turned off for a moment and they got punished because Evander is that good.
Yeah, 23 goal contributions now. It's just remarkable. But and this is what I asked you this too. I think I asked Maddie, and because I don't always know exactly where people are marketable, but I almost wonder, why is he still in MLS for that level of player?
Yeah.
What Maddie said was he's not going to make as much money as he makes here. He makes close to $6 million or in excess of $6 million, and live a comfortable life too, and be the talisman. And I think he's just another Brazilian enjoying himself in MLS. I like all these Brazil players.
Without a doubt, and there's nothing wrong with that. By the way, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Not everybody has to be like seeking out, the toughest level of competition all the time. He puts the effort in. He works really hard. He's really talented. Lives in a beautiful city like Cincinnati, plays in a magnificent stadium. They have great training, facility. He's got everything. He's got everything, and a team that is more than competitive. They're not Nashville, mind you, but as they get healthier and they're playing better and as they shore up their defense, they're a very good competitive team. It's a very good situation to be in.
All right, here's Pascal and I, part of our pregame show coming up. Roberto with Ariel on the Spanish side, myself with Maddie on the English side. Tomorrow we begin at 4:15 Eastern. It's a standalone matinee, 2 games only in MLS on Sunday, and a host of games tonight. We'll probably have some partial scores for you before we're off the air with this podcast. But here's Pascal on Luigi.
Back to Luigi. So he scores in the 21st minute, just to give an indication of the slow start. That was your first shot attempt, but it was a wonderful goal. And I wonder if you'd elaborate just on him personally. And this was something we noted, in particular, getting a chance to see the replay and watch the clip of the adjustment he made just before Ojeda delivered that, just backing up a couple of steps so he could really step in and finish.
Yeah, it's more to it, of course. The run of play in how we get ourselves into this moment. There's a switch of play with Raul, who drags players to one side, speeds up the play to the right side. Ojeda delays, Nico Macau delays the pass, and Ojeda makes the run. And then it's about getting the ball in a dangerous area. And you describe Luigi's movement very precise, but you forget the little nudge he made with his arm in order to separate himself to get that moment. And this is something that is always like an interesting topic, because is it behavior that has been taught, or is it pure nature? Yeah. And in his case, it's a combination of both, but predominantly it's his nature. So his positioning in the box to get himself into finishing positions is very impressive for a 20-year-old.
Yeah, it looks like you have a striker. I'm not saying you don't have others, but you've got a striker in this guy. That little nudge is, however it was developed, that's massive. Yeah, it's a different type of striker, and this is the conversation we've been having a couple of times already. When you compare Luigi's profile to Alonso's profile or Benny's profile, there's 3 different types of number 9s, and that's how we like to have them in our locker room. All right. I'm looking forward to when Martinez comes back to see how you manage all that, Pascal. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, look, and here's a comment from one of our regulars. I'm late. No, I wanted to put something else up here. Here it is. Yeah. Well, he was late, but Luigi is just a Band-Aid on the roster. I tell you what.
He's not.
He is. Look, everybody, has their own opinion about what a number 9 should look like. This is the first guy that's played striker that I can recall. And you want to talk about Inge Berget?
I was thinking of him. I was exactly thinking of him.
So he was, look, he was a disaster pretty much. And but a guy who's comfortable with his back to the goal, does some fascinating things off of that. The defenders don't know what to do with him. They either foul him or they kind of lay off of him a little, because he can spin in such an adroit way to get out of those jams. He can combine, he can lay off, he can spin and get in. His biggest thing right now is finishing more consistently. But, and I really mean it, when Alonso Martinez comes back and is fully fit, there's some decisions to be made. If you run him up the middle and put Luigi on the bench, I don't know, man. I think there's got to be a way to sort all that out.
There might be a way for them to be able to play together. And then you have Luigi, as the back of the, back to the goal sort of striker. But he does so much more than that. That's one of his abilities. What I loved, and you spoke about it, and Pascal spoke about it, that little nudge gave him enough space to be able to change his body and redirect the ball in one play and put it in. And then he had 2 magnificent chances to start the second half, and he got stoned by Celentano.
Well, here they are.
They win the second ball. Fernandez Mercado trying to get to freedom for the left-footed shot. He takes it. The follow off the post. Luigi denied the brace. Fernandez Mercado, he didn't have much space, but he took a wicked shot that was deflected. Celentano, he had to make the save, couldn't hang on. It spilled right in front, and Luigi was there. And Celentano made an excellent second save because he just got a piece of it off the post.
Well, it's absolutely dreadful goalkeeping in the first instant, but great reactions in the second. But Luigi strikes it straight at him. If he hits it a yard away from, because Celentano's basically on his knees, he can't move either way, just his arm length.
Fernandez-Marcal with a little space, cuts to the inside of Valenzuela. With the left foot, he slips it into Luigi. The turn, the shot, and the save. Luigi with the left foot. And Celentano, he came well off his line and cut down the angle. That was an important save for FC Cincinnati's Roman Celentano.
Well, that's two.
Yeah, that's two, all right. And that happened real early on, just like you described. And but that's, again, I always laud Matty Lawrence. Just, Celentano's on his knees, and all he has to do is push it a yard further to the right, and it's, it's 2-1 to start the second half. That was 22nd. That happened like immediately at the beginning of the half. It was crazy. It was crazy.
They kicked off and they were right down the field, and they almost scored. And Celentano just was alive. Although the first save that he makes, and he just lets that rebound. I mean, my God, that is a juicy rebound. So Matt Lawrence was absolutely right, because it's a terrible save because of the way he spills the ball right up Broadway. And, then he recovers and he makes a brilliant save there. And then the kick save. I mean, Celentano made up for the mistake, didn't allow the goal. It turned the game. I'm not saying that if New York City scores there that they win the game, but things are very, very different. Things are very, very different if they go up 2-1 there.
Goals change games. Goals change games, and especially in the first 5 minutes of the second half, 5 minutes on either side of the half, and then late goals conceded. So I know somebody put a comment up about there's some noise about Pascal Janssen. Just cut the noise, folks, please. Yeah. But anyway, the stat, and I saw it in the New York Sports Journal. I think those boys are doing a great job.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Good information before each game, post-game. My own Chris Sakonis writes a post-game report, 3 things, which I hope people are reading too. 12 of 29 goals conceded, 12 of the 29 goals they've conceded, Roberto, after the 75th minute. And it is alarming. Pascal, in my pregame briefing with him, admitted it's alarming, but it's a number of things. It's here's what he said. He said, every goal we concede is alarming. And I understand that.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. So that's what they've got to begin to overcome, and also score. Luigi finishes that one, and the game could have changed.
For sure. And then all the goals that they're giving up in stoppage time as well. I believe it's 5 already. It might be more. They're giving up a lot of goals in stoppage time, and sometimes it just happens. And I don't think Pascal is too worried about it based on his previous comments. But the New York City's got to find a way to finish these games strong. I mean, to me, what was more concerning was the fact that if New York City doesn't score the first goal and score it in the first half, they don't win. All 7 of their wins have come in games where they've scored the first goal in the first half. And they haven't been able to win a game where they're either tied or halftime, or haven't scored a goal at halftime, or they allow the first goal. They haven't. Yeah. It's 25 games in a row where New York City hasn't won a game when they don't score first. I mean, that's not good.
Well, Pascal dug in a little bit, not on that specifically, but in terms of depth too, and the importance of that.
We shouldn't be putting ourselves in these situations anymore. But on the other hand, we also know in a condensed schedule, players that have to come off the bench and assist the team are also a massive asset to the team. And them, unfortunately, we have a couple of guys at this moment that have been quite expensive in conceding unnecessary goals, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, depth has always been maybe across the board globally, but in this league, the deepest teams seem to advance the furthest in the playoffs, and then win MLS Cup.
Yeah, I think it's part of the story based on my experience from last year. On the other hand, I think also making sure that you have a core squad that is available for the majority of the games is a massive piece. So you can play a lot of the games with the same players more consistently. And depth in the squad is for sure a massive asset for any team. But it is what it is, and we have to respect the fact that we have the squad that we have. and try to squeeze everything out of them what is possible.
I want to make a comment quickly.
But that's saying something about the roster there, don't you think?
Yeah, but I mean, one of the things we got to look at, Glenn, is the fact that New York City, I mean, if people are criticizing Pascal and all that, and, Pascal 35% win ratio this year is down from 50 of last year. And I get that, but we also have to look at reality and context. Look at how many starters have been out. There have been games within the past month where you've had 5 and 6 starters out between O'Neal, Truitt. Yeah, right. So you've got, among others, O'Neal, Truitt. Thiago Martins was probably one of the most important ones, right? They haven't won since he left against Toronto. And you've got, who else? Hannes Wolf, Maxi Morales. I mean, it's a lot. You have a lot of depth in guys coming in. Alonso Martinez, exactly. I mean, for people to be coming in and saying, well, look at his right, you got to look at everything. And you just can't put it on the manager, or you can't put it just on a player. It's good that this team has depth and people are getting chances and all that. But you also have to be realistic and understanding that there's a lot of injuries here, and that takes a toll.
It does. And that was Martin's last appearance against Toronto. He suffered a hamstring injury there, and he, according to Pascal, is available tomorrow. To what extent? Does that mean at the start? Does that mean he just sits on the bench and observes to see how the game is going? We won't know that till tomorrow, an hour or so before kickoff, and we'll alert you to that.
I want to make one correction. I said they haven't won since Martins went out. They did. They beat Santos Laguna 2-0. But after that, they lost to Cruz Azul, Necaxa, Philadelphia, and Cincinnati.
Yeah. And then Gustavo gets his first start next to Sands, who now moves to the right. So we'll see how all that plays out, too. We assume that Gustavo will be ready to go also if needed, because he's coming off a knee injury that kept him out. That happened in a friendly during the World Cup break. So another one, we didn't even talk about Gustavo and his value, and we saw what he did on the goal, and we've talked about inconsistent performances perhaps from him, but he's a big part of moving forward too, because the back line is so thin. So this is all going into this New England game. New England has a new manager, and he's doing some things. His name is Marko Mitrovic. The first thing I want to talk about with him, I respect anybody that speaks 5 languages. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Who they are, or, what their political persuasion is, what any persuasion, if they can speak 5 languages, boy, got a lot of damn respect for that. That's Marko Mitrovic. But beyond that, and he is a mentor. His mentor has been Valko Paunovic, who was with the Chicago Fire, but where they both really performed well together initially. The U20 World Cup Championship, which was a massive upset and surprise. Serbia wins it. Pauno is the head coach, and Mitrovic is his assistant. And they've been together at Reading. They were together at the Chicago in MLS. And then he was the youth national team coach for the U19s and the Olympic team. So he's an experienced guy. And from what I've heard, it's really changed. And, you talk about mood and culture. Culture is perhaps an overused word, but Caleb Porter had worn out his welcome. And
yes, he did.
Mitrovic is apparently a really calming
breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I think one of those where he's really he's one of these gregarious guys that talks to everybody, and so it's really nice to hear. And they're doing fine. They're in 4th place in the Eastern Conference. This is, if you want to compare last year to this year, I think this is the most startling of it all. If they were to win tomorrow, they would equal the amount of points that they had in all of 2025. Holy smokes.
That's pretty – yeah, they had a terrible season last year. Just terrible. And now they got Jack Harrison. So, and Jack has come in, and all of a sudden he's putting in these lovely crosses and everything, and that's
there he is.
it's really helped them. That a lot of, if you look at where their goals come from, their goals, 40% of their goals come from the right side, and Jack Harrison is now, and he's only played 3 games, I believe, right? And he's started 2, and a lot of those goals are coming from his area.
Yeah, he's got 4 assists in those 3 games per MLS because they credit second assists. FotMob has him for 3 assists. Either way, those close to the team that have seen him game in and game out, and also a little bit of training, what an upgrade, and it's really it's nice to have him back. It'll be nice to see him, but for New York City FC to play against him at the level he is right now, look at the experience he's had, right? So it's Everton, Middlesbrough first in the Championship, Everton, Leeds, and then Fiorentina. So he's played in the Championship, Premier League, and Serie A, and now coming back to MLS. How about that? I mean,
not bad at all. I mean, he's had a really good career, and wherever he's played, he's been an important player for those teams. He's always stood out. Speaking of standing out, what do you think of Alassane Youssef, who came into the game against DC United with 4 goals in his career, and then he scores a hat trick?
His development in the midfield, along with Brooklyn Reigns, who's going to be out. This is a big loss for New England tomorrow, and this is pretty important for the New York City consideration. Brooklyn Reigns and Youssef have been this midfield lock, and the fact is he's not normally getting close to goal. But my scouting report, based on some conversations, is that the emergence of Harrison drawing more defensive awareness is creating a little bit more space for these guys out of the midfield to get close to goal, which is exactly, if you watch the highlights of this game, I mean, look how close to goal this guy is to score his hat trick. It's really, and they were great goals. And Harrison had 2 assists on 2 of the 3 goals that he scored. So, yeah, no, you're right, man. It's crazy, and throughout his whole career, if you open up his whole career book, he doesn't score goals, and he had 3.
Then all of the nation's capital served him well. There is no doubt about that. And so the thing with New England, though, is that yes, they're in 4th place. They really took advantage of the pre-World Cup because they had so many games that they were playing in a row at home, and they did really, really well with home cooking. But before the DC United game, they had lost to Toronto 2-1, and they lost at home to Houston. By the way, Houston's playing lights out. We never speak about them. They've shut out 5 games. They've shut out their opponents 5 games in a row, including
They're in
Vancouver.
first place in the West.
I know they're they passed them anyway, and so they beat them 2-0. And so for New England, this was their first win in 4 games. And now, they get New York City, who they beat here last year.
Well, 8 wins, 2 defeats, 1 draw in their 11 home games this year. Gillette is sort of like New York City Yankee Stadium. It's a massive home field advantage, and at Gillette, on this awkward surface, it's artificial. They didn't leave the grass down, unfortunately, so it's back to the artificial surface where New England is playing the Philadelphia Eagles right now. I'm trying to look over and see if I can, get any, catch any part of the game, but no.
I'll see if I can find a score for you, if you would like.
I don't really care that much, but we've run into so many people that were going over to the game, and I was twice in front of crowds. I went, "Let's go Jets," and they looked at me like, "What?" And
you're lucky you didn't get. You're lucky you didn't get beaten up. Anyway, they're tied at 0.
Okay,
3:45 to go in the first quarter.
All right, so I thought I'd point out that a former New England fullback who was outstanding, especially under Bruce Arena, Brandon Bye, tore his ACL. He's with Portland now, so he's out. That happened against San Diego. So I just, from a New England standpoint, he was always just so good for New England. Toronto, the next opponent for New York City. How about this game? They're trailing 3-1 with 2 red cards, and they come back and tie it 3-3 against Charlotte, their most recent game. I mean,
that's pretty crazy.
Nuts. That is nuts. So there's something to be said in that from Robin Fraser's group, and who was very, very vocal about not just the refereeing in that game, but the officiating in a majority of their matches. He thinks he's getting the bad end of the calls because they're Toronto, they're at or near the bottom, and it's this. We could go back to Argentina in the World Cup. Do the best players and best teams get the calls? Not a conspiracy theory, not rigged, but the referees are human, and you wonder. But Robin Fraser, boy, I don't know if he came out with a Mike Petke, facts of all the different areas that where the calls were poor. But, that was interesting to hear him. Pretty much, he'll be fined because he really went at it. But, hopefully his wife won't be upset with that.
With a fine?
I don't even. Yeah, exactly.
Why go there? Why go there?
I always consider the partners when these coaches get fined. It's like, whoa, you fined $2,500. That's a lot of money, man.
Yeah, well, at least in MLS, they don't fine as much as the NFL. Did you see the Cowboys and the Saints got into a fight, and each team got hit for a $500,000 fine? In MLS, you don't have those fines. Yeah.
No.
It's a different ballgame.
That's wild. Red Bull New York lost to Nashville. Well, Nashville's running away with the Supporters Shield at this point, and they are. The amount of clean sheets, they don't concede. And Red Bull had their expected goal. Red Bull's expected goals were over 2. They get blanked, but there was only one save by Schwacke. I kind of looked this up because I was really curious about how this went. They doubled Nashville's expected goals. Nashville wins it. Here, we're talking about transfer possibilities, so more reports. Julian Hall, who we know is going to leave MLS at some point, he's got 12 goals through 22 in 22 matches for the Red Bulls. Marseille, Newcastle, Atletico Madrid are apparently interested, but it would be a miracle, according to this one report, that he'd be sold this summer. Maybe in the same vein as Nico Fernandez, Mercado. It would be maybe a miracle for that to happen with him because of the importance that he's had. How about this? Red Bulls have fielded 8 of the 10 youngest starting lineups in MLS this season. So Michael Bradley, man, he's not refraining from it at all. He's just pushing it along. They're below the playoff line right now, but only by a point. And New York City is just a single. No, excuse me. Red Bulls are in 8th place. Forgive me. They're in 8th place. New York City.
Yeah, they're ahead of DC. They're ahead of DC, who's 9th. Yeah. Right, and New York City is 5 points ahead of the teams that are out of the playoffs right now. So their margin for error is slight, but it would be really good for New York City to get 3 points, get closer to New England, and hopefully leave some of the other teams behind, and not have to be worrying about that. Yeah,
New England's in 4th place too. I mean, if you want to get to the top 4 and get that home field advantage for the playoffs, New York City's 7 points behind New England going into this game. You mentioned Houston.
Although you can, finish.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that. Okay.
No, go ahead. No, go.
You say go ahead, and then you start talking.
I didn't say go ahead. I started talking. Just go. What the hell are you doing? Speak.
Okay, fine. Now I've just lost my train of thought. Go on. Forget it.
My goal was achieved. No, I wanted to back up your Houston Dynamo. I just have things written down that I think are really important. 5th consecutive clean sheets. You said that, but you weren't 100% certain. It's 5th consecutive clean sheet, which is ridiculous. And it's only happened 2 other times in MLS history. And that was LAFC in 2024, Atlanta United in 2019. How about that? How about MLS Disciplinary Committee Lionel Messi and Ian Frey were fined for that little whatever was going on post game against Philadelphia
Kerfuffle, whatever
Union.
it was.
Yeah, kerfuffle.
Whatever that is. Kerfuffle, whatever.
And then there's another committee. You could appeal red cards. Kevin Sullivan got red carded in the kerfuffle, and it was rescinded by another committee. So Philadelphia won't lose that appeal. You get 2 a year, and so they get that back. And so Kevin Sullivan gets to play against Austin this weekend. And now I want you to explain the proposed MLS schedule for the 2027-28 season. You have 60 seconds. Go.
Forget about it. I'm not, and it's not the schedule that I'm worried about. The schedule, I'm not worried about schedule. What I'm worried about
the playoff.
more is a
playoff schedule.
playoff. I know.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, you have to study Australian rules football, and that's where they're copying it from. See, I'm not happy. You got 30 teams in MLS. I don't want 20 teams making the playoffs. I'm not even happy that 18 make it. I would like to see them, once they go back down to 16 for the sprint season, which is what they're going to do, 8 and 8. That's what I want to see. I want to see 18. I want to see 16 teams again. So if you're going to go into 5 different divisions, which is what everybody's been talking about, you have the top 3 teams in each division make it. That's 15. You add 1 wild card. That makes it 16. The team with the top points plays the team with the least points, second most, second least, and you go that way, and you do it that way. And it's either, I think home and away is great. I'll be very happy if they just want to do 1 game and it's at the higher seed. I can live with that. But make it 16. Don't go 18. Keep it simple. So here's the issue that I have with the playoff format, okay? And I haven't really seen the playoff format, but I've seen like little things about it. And it's about, you have like, there's going to be double jeopardy for some teams, and there's going to be that they're going to get 2 chances to stay alive, and the whole thing. Point being is this, before you even explain it, just before you explain it, I just want to give my point. Let me finish. And it's this, that they should, if you want to get the casual fan, and part of this is about getting the casual fan, okay? You've got to make it simple. When you make it so
it should look like this? Are you saying it shouldn't look like that?
No, it shouldn't look like that.
How great is that? That is the explanation right there.
It's nuts. Keep it simple, stupid.
So
that's what it's got to be.
I think the biggest thrust of what they're trying to do, 20 teams out of 30 is, I don't like it either, Roberto. What they're trying to do is make the regular season more relevant. And the way they're doing that, and this is the Australian rules football studying that they did and consulting with that league to see how they came up with this. If you finish in the top 8 of the overall, so there's going to be this divisional thing you were talking about, but there's also going to be an overall table from 1 to 30. And if you finish in the top 8 of that table, you then enter into this double elimination. For if you lose the first game that you compete in the playoff, you will then go into a loser's bracket and have a chance to win your way back out of that and win MLS Cup. So there's this incentive to finish top 8. So and the commissioner, like pro relegation was brought up to the new commissioner, and he's his answer is what you would expect, that nothing's ever impossible, but it doesn't fit what we're trying to do as we look to the future. This is almost one of those things, because that's what pro rel is, right? It makes every game counts for something, and they're just trying to make it more relevant. I think that's
right, because you have races at the top of the standings and the bottom of the standings. I mean, in the EPL last year, the whole Spurs drama with West Ham to see who was going to stay up. I mean, at the end of the day, that became even much more important than the top because Arsenal pretty much had that one. So in MLS, obviously, we don't have that. And not only that, but the team that finishes last winds up getting rewarded with the first pick of this, the college draft, which isn't as important as it is in football or basketball, or even hockey for that matter. But, you can definitely help yourself, bringing in a college player, Jack Harrison.
Yeah, Wake Forest for 1 year after his mom brought him over here to, go to prep school. And with the New York City squad, they were trying to make him a homegrown somehow, get him within the academy. That never worked out. But it did work out that he came in and played a couple of seasons, and that really jettisoned him to Manchester City. He never appeared for Manchester City. He was loaned out to, some great experiences for him, which obviously paid off financially for he and his family, but also in terms of his playing experience. So, yeah, so that's the MLS playoff schedule. It's a report that came, I forget who, I think The Guardian had it first, Pablo, and then Paul Tenorio wrote a little bit more extensively on it as well. So between those two, they really outlined it really nicely for us, I think. And that's what we got. That's what we got. So what do you think? So I interviewed, I want to play one clip for you because I really seek, I want everybody's, especially those who have been involved in the game for a long time. There's this discussion on the referee and FIFA laws side, especially in the World Cup, going to 4 quarters, almost like the NFL or basketball, whatever. And then, but the other thing is, and it's about stopping the clock instead of added time. So let me just play this. This guy is Graham Scott, former Premier League referee, former Premier League video assistant referee. And I brought this up because I wanted to know how he felt.
We seem to be heading more towards an NFL style where we're going to stop and start and stop and have game clocks. We're going to count every second. And I don't think that's in football's interests. I think it's what makes it so
That's a question. In my list of questions, I said, what's your position on simply stopping the clock like
Please
basketball and American football?
Please no. Please no. I get the argument, and I do understand why it's so attractive, because timekeeping has become such a massive issue. And I stood as fourth official 300 times in the Premier League. And it's like every game, someone's up to you going, how much time? And you say, well, I've got 3 minutes. And they go, only 3? We reckon you should have 7. And then the other team come over, how many minutes? Say 3. And they go, 3? Where'd you get 3 from? We've only got 1.
Of course.
So every game becomes kind of battle over these few minutes at the very end, and you kind of go, well, hang on, you've been playing for 94 minutes and you haven't scored, you've only had one shot.
But what's interesting about all this, the World Cup in the United States is, and I think many of my colleagues, we've been through the same thing. We have a lot of friends who are not particularly dived into the game of soccer, so they're watching the World Cup, and they're wondering, how do they understand how much time is left? What is that all about, this mystery added time? And I understand where they're coming from. And they're like, just put a clock up there. I'm with you, but it does make logical sense to me, right?
Yep. And do we want an entirely rational, logical game where everything's done to the nth degree and every tackle is checked? And
I'm with you.
Every free kick is reviewed, and maybe the throw-ins as well while we're there. And do we want that? Or would we rather have a game that flowed as best we can?
So what do you think, Roberto? What's your feeling on stopping the clock versus added time? And it is a mystery. I mean, they say, all right, now we count up 6 minutes added time, but all of a sudden it's up to 98. Why is that? It's still a mystery.
I used to be in favor of stopping the clock and keeping it like the NFL and NBA and all of that. And I've sort of changed my tune on that. I think it adds more of a human element. It adds more drama because of the things that you just mentioned. We're going to be at least 6 minutes of stoppage time, and then all of a sudden it goes to 08. And it creates controversies. It creates talking points. There's a lot to it. And maybe I'm romanticizing it a little bit, but I'm okay
I
with
think
the
it's
way
fine.
I'm okay with the way it goes. I'm okay with the way it
Yeah.
is because remember MLS when they started, it was not only was it a clock that, but it was a clock that counted down.
Yep. Yeah, they made that change pretty quickly after some people said, "What? You're not a soccer league if you're counting down." I'm sorry, and the colleges still count down, even though both coaches could agree to have it count up. And I do go to some college games where they count up. Rutgers, where I coached for many years, they're still counting down. I can't. I've talked to both of them. I don't think there's going to be a change there. And speaking of women's college soccer, did you see this, Roberto? This is incredible. And it was at my alma mater, the University of Georgia. The largest attendance for a men's or women's college soccer match recently when the University of Georgia, they won their match handily. Oh, I can't remember who they played. And Kirby Smart, the UGA football coach, was in attendance with his team. But 25,000, it holds 90, but 25,000 at Old
That's
Sanford
amazing.
Stadium, where I used to sit on the tracks. It used to be an open-ended, and we would have our fun outside of the stadium too.
But wow,
yeah,
25,000 people for a college soccer game? That's
yeah, it was
outstanding.
wild. They've been promoting it since like they've been building towards it since last spring, and that's what you have to do in marketing. Marketing doesn't happen overnight. You have to build it into the DNA of those in the surrounding communities so that they come out for some reason, and they did this time. And that it was celebrating. I don't know if you remember this, but the first year of Olympics for women's soccer was 1996, and it was the Atlanta Olympics, and the final was played at Sanford Stadium. And there were over 90,000 at that. And the U.S. beat China. And Mia Hamm scored in the game, one of the names from the past. And the big news there, I don't know if you know at Georgia, they call it playing between the hedges. It's a huge tradition. They have this hedges that goes all around the field. And they took them down for the Olympics. And the football gang, they were really, really perturbed. Oh, yeah. Because they couldn't
Did
make
they
the
put
field
him back
wide
up?
enough. They put him back
okay,
up.
I get that. Yeah.
But still, it's almost like going
It's
into
sacrilege.
a graveyard and taking out one of the tombstones. That's how they felt about it. It was just,
It's sacrilege. I absolutely get that.
All right.
I'm in
Any
agreement
final
with him,
thoughts?
Glenn.
Yeah.
Looking
Any final
forward to
thoughts there,
tomorrow. No, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Remember, the game's at 4:30. We start at 4:15. So I'm happy to have Ariel back after having to go at this solo in Cincinnati. And just hoping that New York City plays the way that they play against Cincinnati. And if Martins comes back, they'll be even more solid on defense, and they can, hopefully turn things around and get this going. Look, this is a league with a lot of parity, and this happens pretty much every year that you're going to have losing streaks, and then you're going to have winning streaks. And so I'm not overly concerned about everything, but it would be nice to, to have that 31-minute trip back to White Plains be one with that is joyful.
Yeah. They need to get an airport closer to Gillette Stadium, though. So
that
Maddie
was
and
funny.
I
A 31-minute flight and a 61-minute bus ride.
Yeah, well, all that.
Actually, it was 51 minutes because of the police escort.
Yeah, police escort. Wow, big time, huh? Big
I
time.
know.
Maddie and I will be on at 6:30. At 3:30. Forgive me, 3:30 p.m. Eastern with the NYCFC pregame live. Our live stream. We'll do it from Gillette, from our radio booth, and then we'll be on at 4:15 along with the Spanish gang, Roberto and Ariel, for the New York City FC Radio Network live commentary. NYCFC.com/radio, NYCFC app. There are some supporters on the trip with us this time, and they weren't aware that the games were on the radio, so they are now going to start listening, Roberto. And,
good.
And also
I find that amazing that supporters don't know that we exist. I find that stunning.
Well, we just need to keep we talked about marketing. We just have to keep marketing.
Which is what we do. For everybody here who's watching or is going to watch us on replay, which at this point they would have caught up, please go to our YouTube page and like and subscribe. And if you can comment, good, bad, or indifferent, we're happy with anything you say. We will read everything that you put down there. And if there's anything that we can do better, we will definitely try. So please let us know. For everybody who chimes in, and especially the guys who are here with us regularly that are chiming in, we appreciate it. We read everything that that you post. So I just wanted to let you know that, and we appreciate. We can't get to everything on screen, but we really, really appreciate everybody doing that. And please spread the word that we have these games on radio, and you can do it either on the New York City FC app or the TuneIn app or the Mixlr app, which, for what I've been able to figure out with Sean Cabrera, who does my stats, is that with the Mixlr app, the game is closer. Our broadcast is closer to the game. So if you're at the stadium and you wanted to listen, the delay is much less. So make that as you will.
Well, Gregory, who I met today with his son Derek, is going to start listening in the stadium to our radio commentary. CF Montreal is only 4 points out of a playoff spot, which is remarkable, right?
Yes.
It's 1-1 now. They were up 1-0 on the Galaxy. Now it's 1-1. And no score in any of the other games that are underway. Charlotte, DC United, Cincinnati, Seattle, Inter Miami, Toronto, Orlando, RSL, and the Red Bulls are home to Chicago. So when we get off here, it's probably...
Yeah, Misael commented that they have a really good crowd at Sports Illustrated Stadium, and I guess there's a lot of Lewandowski fans. I mean, we got 27,000 we got over 27,000 at Yankee Stadium when he was there. So they've traveled south.
Well, you got Griezmann playing against RSL. You got Messi, of course. Who else has the Stars? Well, that's about it for tonight, anyway. And later on,
Evander.
Nashville.
Against Seattle. By the way, what's the situation with Seattle? Because now you're having your coach, Brian Schmetzer, really just start making a lot of noise out loud. We need reinforcements, and we need them badly. And he's really frustrated. His team is just tanked.
Well, they have 8. You talked about earlier 5, 6, or 7 New York City starters. You say starters, sometimes starters. Seattle's got 8 full-time starters sidelined for this match tonight against Cincinnati. I mean, it's just
Roldan, De La Vega, Jesus Ferreira, Paul Arriola, Gomez, Jordan Morris, Petkovic. Jesus, they're really in bed.
Those guys would all be in. Yep, it's for sure. All right, well, we're going to get off and hop on Apple and try to – I can't watch more than one game at a time. Sometimes I'll put 2 on, but I'm probably just going to have to pick one. Roll the dice and pick one. I'm probably going to pick Toronto since that's our opponent next week. Roberto, start scouting them, baby. All right?
All right, so we can do that. Or we can go to dinner and watch it on replay.
No. I had my
I am hungry.
We'll talk.
Oh,
we'll talk
God.
about that. All right,
we'll do that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Roberto. Thank you. I'm Glenn, and we've been here with you on NYCFC Views Live. We do it every week. We don't always do it the same day, so you just have to stay tuned. All right, see you, everybody.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.